a written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
All right, good afternoon. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Welcome to the first of two candidate forums that we're going to be having this year. My name is Dale Lair, and I'm the president of the 2022 RCSC Board of Directors, and I'm also chair of the Elections Committee. For me, this is a really exciting time of the year. It's a time when membership gets to choose who you feel will be the best additions to the RCSC board. You, the membership, get to elect your representatives for this critical position on the board of directors. This is a form of self-government, and you, the members, make the decisions. During this meeting, I'm going to ask you all to take out your phones and please put them on the vibrate mode or turn them off. Inevitably, a phone goes off and everybody will look at you and you will be very embarrassed. I'll remind you at the end to turn them back on. This year, we have 7 candidates vying for 3 three-year terms. I'd like to take this time right now to introduce my co-chair of the Elections Committee, Director Sue Wilson. Sue.
Good afternoon, and thank you for attending. First, I'd like to introduce any of our current board members that are here today. If you would please stand. Thank you. Kat Fimmel, John Nowakowski, Steve Collins, Darla Akins, Dale Lair, myself, and Mike Egge. And Alan Lenevsky is here, back there. Okay. All right. By the food, yes. How about our election committee? Anyone that is on our election committee, would you please stand? Ida Eisert, Stella Van Ness. Thank you for being here today. I have some basic process to go over, or the rules for the forum. The moderator will ask the initial question. Then we will have opening statements from the candidates. Anyone with a question can come to the podium and ask your question. Anyone with a second question should wait until everyone interested has a chance to ask one question. Then, if time, additional questions will be allowed. Questions may be directed to a specific candidate or to all the candidates for a response. Questions should be straightforward and to the point, designed to get the candidate's view on how they would function as a board director. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to the questions, and there's a clock over there to show you that. If questions are asked that are not fair or appropriate, the chair will withdraw the question or ask that it be reworded accordingly. When questions are asked of all candidates, I will call on them to respond in random order for response. The forum is scheduled for 2 hours. If members are finished with their questions early, we will allow each candidate to give their closing statements, and then we will adjourn early. If we do not get many questions from the floor, the chair is prepared with several questions that can be asked of the candidates. We are doing something again this year called the lightning round. This is to highlight the knowledge of candidates have of Sun City and of RCSC. Each candidate was given a number before the beginning of the forum. The number corresponds to a question. I do not expect all of the candidates to have all the answers. It will depend on how involved you are in clubs and et cetera. But it will be interesting to see what knowledge they do have of both Sun City and RCSC. And just a reminder, no props by our candidates. With that, I'll turn it back to Dale.
Okay. Thank you very much, Director Wilson. Okay, now it's time to meet the candidates. At this time, I'd like to start with allowing them to give opening statements to introduce themselves. Each candidate will have 2 minutes, and I'm going to start down at the end of the table with Director Collins.
Thank you, President Lair. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming, taking time out of your day to be here. I'm running for re-election on the board. I'm here, and I tried to listen to each and every one of you, each and every club, and get them what they need, what they deserve. I've had quite a fight over the last 2 years, but I am going to continue to try and strive to get you everything that you need. We're entering a rough time here. Everyone here seems to know, and the economy is going down, housing sales are going down. It's going to be a rough stretch. And if we're going to have to make some difficult decisions and very smart decisions in the future in order, if we're going to stay profitable and keep your costs down. My main thing is keep your quality up, your costs down. And as we change, you know, pickleball is becoming one of the biggest sports in the country. We're going to have to build more pickleball. There's no way around it. I mean, that's just a fact. Years ago, it was lawn bowling. We had to build all the places because that's what people did. Times change, people change. And we have to keep, the long-range planning committee has to try and keep up with the trends, our technology. You know, we have to finish our buildings and get more technology in here so we can do more things. And that'll improve our security. So thank you very much, everybody, and please vote.
Thank you, Director Collins. Next.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you guys being here. I have been in Sun City approximately 15 years. I was on this board in 16, 17, and 18. I have a lot of background experience and knowledge in Sun City since I've been on every board in Sun City. I'm currently on the Showa board. I was on the Condo Association board for 10 years. I'm on the foundation board. I've been a member of the Sun City Men's Golfing Association for almost 15 years. And I enjoy working with the residents and organizations in Sun City in order to maintain our affordable, diverse, and friendly community that we have here so that we can fulfill the needs, wants, and requirements of all the different groups here, including pickleball, golfing, lawn bowling, shuffleboard, and everything else. And also to explore new ways to improve Sun City. And as you guys all know, there's a newer generation moving in. They have different ideas than most of us that have been here for a while. And we need to explore those. I think with my background and my knowledge and experience, I can be an asset to this board in the next 3 years. Thank you.
Jean?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
I didn't fall asleep.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Is this okay? Okay. I'd like to just take an opportunity to thank all involved, staff, election committee, Marcia Johnson, my esteemed opponents, and especially you folks, because if you weren't here, we wouldn't have anything to do. This year is going to be my mantra. Let's return to the community built by and run by the members. This year, let's vote for members who think of members first. This year, let's do our part in how the future of Sun City plays out. This year, let's try a new team, a team that listens, a team that believes that communicating and educating are key to gaining more member participation as we move forward. As I've said before, I envision us reaping rewards of what took place in the past to move us forward into the future. 4 brand new faces up here, all willing to give their time and talent to usher forth new ideas, new enthusiasm, new clarity. Let's do a complete 360 on the negativity and the rudeness, the animosity and the power trips of the past, of the knee-jerk reactions and pie-in-the-sky ideas that were put in place to pacify the members with the loudest voices, without any real hope in sight that these projects will reach fruition. And this year is the year to ensure that no non-resident should ever be able to enjoy our amenities for less than we do. Unfortunately, this year is also going to bring challenges. Supply chain issue coupled with inflation, increasing demands for water, questionable decisions by management, our IT that is 10 years behind and prevents us from moving forward with needed safety and security measures.
Okay, time's up. Thank you very much. Jim?
Hello, I'm glad to see you here. My name is James Ruff. Most people know me as Jim. The only one that called me James was my mom when she was mad at me. I have a lot of experience, 40-plus years of management experience. I have only lived here for 4 months. I was going to the different centers, and I kept seeing the flyer that said wanted dead or alive board members. And I thought, I would like to work with people that have that good a sense of humor. I have 15 years of experience running licensing boards for the state of Ohio. So I've dealt with we had 100,000 licensees for one board and 40,000 for the other. So I'm dealing with a lot of different issues. I've gotten bills through the House and Senate, and the governor signed 3 times during those 15 years. So I know how to deal with people, get people all together. And what I believe the best way to deal with difficult issues is to reach for consensus. Rarely does anyone get exactly what they want, but everyone gets something that is acceptable to them. And if that fails, then we need to table the issue, agree to disagree, stay friends, and maybe address it again in the future after we've worked out some of the details. I'm a math major, MBA graduate, and I deal in facts. I don't deal in how I feel about the issue. I deal with, does it make sense? Is it financially doable? Are we spending the money where the residents are going to get the benefit from it? I believe every club should have the support that they need to be the best they can within the budget. With that, I thank you. I look forward to being on the board if you elect me. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Darla?
Hello, everybody. I'm sure everybody already knows who I am, but I'll tell you anyway. I'm Darla Akins, and I'm running for re-election. My first year, I was appointed to the board. That year, I was running up against a couple of people who were running for re-election. Then, of course, they got in ahead of me. And one person resigned that year, so they needed to appoint somebody. And through all the stuff we had done, the orientation, all that stuff, they decided that I was a good candidate for that. So they appointed me to the board for that first year. And the next year, I had to run for re-election. I've lived in Sun City for 17 years. I've seen a lot of things go on, seen a lot of things happen. I've seen a lot of changes, and for the good. I think this is a wonderful place to live, and I think since our annual assessment has not been raised in 6 years, I can't guarantee next year, but it has not been raised in 6 years, I think somebody's doing a pretty good job here. Everything is still functioning fine. We got through the COVID just fine because we didn't lose anything. We didn't lose any facilities. I mean, we just got through it all. And I think we did a good job. I like to see effective change. And I'm hoping that I can get reelected to help Sun City keep moving forward, because effective change sometimes needs to be done gradually, because that way you build a real strong foundation. And we need a strong foundation for our current and our incoming residents, our future residents. So I'm hoping that I can get reelected and we can keep Sun City moving forward. I really enjoy doing this because I like being involved. When I was teaching physical education, I was always the one to volunteer to be on, I knew somebody's phone was going to go off. I was going to be, I was always one to get involved in all the committees, and ended up being the representative for our Glendale Elementary School District, the representative for the National Education Association for our district, and I went to all the board meetings and all that kind of stuff because I like to see and hear things firsthand instead of somebody telling me.
Thank you, Darla.
Thank you.
John?
Thank you, everybody, for coming today and listening to us. My name is John Sahlberg. I've lived here, I've owned here for 17 years, lived here in Sun City for 10. Wasn't old enough to live in when I bought, and had to wait and lived in El Mirage until I was old enough to move in. I was a fireman paramedic in Chicago for 28 years. Worked on quite a few departments, Chicago Fire being one of them. I was a dive rescue specialist. I was the chairman of my church board. I've been the president of our HOA. I've been a chaplain here for 3 years, working with the Sun City Fire. I also am full-time chaplain with the Sheriff's Department. When it comes to honesty, I think a lot of us agree that's what we all want. Honestly, working together with everybody, listening to the community, doing the best we can. We can't all agree on the same thing. My wife and I can't agree on everything, but we work together as a team to get along, to get through the next step. We also budget our home the same way. I think we need to budget and keep the city budgeted that way too. We need to stay positive. There's enough negative in this world that's going on that we drag negative into our lives here when this was a time of our lives to shine as retirees, of learning from our past and moving on. It's time that we work together, and we're all not going to agree on everything. I wish we could. That would be a wonderful world, but that's not a fact. But I am open to listen to anybody. I'll talk to anybody, anytime, day or night. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. If you would like to talk to me and you want to call me, my card, I'll give you my card. I have my own personal phone number. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And John Fast at
And the
end.
other John.
Not last, or last but not least.
Last but not least, okay. Well, good afternoon, my fellow Sun citizens. My name is John Fass, and I'm running for one of the open positions of the RCSC board. I'm formally trained in accounting, finance, and law, and was a manager in a corporate finance department for very large corporations for my entire career. My first question, and you thought you were going to ask the first question, for you is whether you believe that Sun City is the best value in retirement communities anywhere in the world. Is there anyone that doesn't believe that? So my answer, and why is it the best? It's the people. People like you and me that believe we're responsible for the quality of our own community. Unlike other retirement communities, we don't delegate that responsibility to someone else and demand to be served like the once important people we were. No, we join together and volunteer our time and talents to make Sun City the great place it is. And yes, we have some great people who are employed by RCSC that make our big wheels keep on turning. But it's the Sun citizens who grease those wheels. We must never forget that. I want to challenge each of you to do the following. Look in the mirror and ask yourself one question. Who is responsible for the quality of your community? When I recently looked myself in the mirror and asked that question, the answer came back that I should run for the board. So here I am. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, all of you. Okay, I'd like to start things by asking the first question, and then I'll open up the floor so that you, the members, can ask questions. So starting on the end, John, you're going to be, yeah, I'm switching things up, okay? In your opinion, what's the most challenging issue facing Sun City in the next 10 years? You have 2 minutes.
The single most challenging,
Single
I guess?
most challenging issue.
The single most challenging issue that we face is going to be water. We don't have a lot of control over it, but that's the single most important issue. If we don't have water, we're not going to have a community. But I think beyond that, what we need to do, or what the single most challenging thing for us, is to bring members into the fold, to engage them in the ownership of their community, to provide as many opportunities as possible for them to participate in self-governance. So I think that's the challenge that I want to take on, but I think water is probably the biggest challenge facing us.
Biggest challenge. Okay, thank you. John?
Well, I agree with the water. I mean, we have to have water to live. I think the biggest challenge, too, is opening our hearts and minds to the future of the city with the younger people coming in, with things and ideas that they're going to have, and what they think they need in their life. And we need to work together at that. That's a big challenge anywhere. That's a big challenge in the home. That's a big challenge in the church. And that's a big challenge in a community, always being there. Sometimes we get complacent, and sometimes we have to reopen our heart and our minds up to listening to them and them also. So I think listening to one another, caring about one another, bringing back the neighborhood, what a neighbor is, which is all of you are my neighbors, and to bring that back into, we're here to volunteer, to work together.
Thank you. Darla?
It's hard to say the single most challenge, but I'm agreeing with my fellow colleagues here, is that we need to try to keep things interesting. We need to try to keep things building and try to keep things interesting so that people want to continue to move here. I mean, I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people here are very happy with the way things are. And I know the older you get, you don't like too much change, because you want to keep things pretty much the way it is so that you can, first of all, remember what you're supposed to do and remember how to get there. But we do need to change some things because we got new people coming in and they want more exciting stuff. We need to continue to build up our facilities so that we have more and more challenging equipment there. We're starting to put in some e-machines, which I think is going to help some of the younger generation coming in. And I know the current people are probably saying, oh, I don't want to do that. But I think they should try it, and they may like it, because you never know. I know you don't like change, and I know you don't like to do that. But I think keeping the facilities up and keeping up with the times and keeping things interesting so people want to move here, I think that's going to be the biggest challenge is what do they want, how we get them there, and what are we going to do to get it there, to do that.
Thank you. Jim?
Thank you. I agree that water is the #1 issue for the future. It's California, all the 7 states that use the Colorado River water. It's something that's going to be hard to manage. The second thing, excuse me?
It's hard to hear him. Oh, okay.
Sorry, is that better? Wasn't close enough to the microphone. Water is the #1 issue in multiple 7 states that use the Colorado River water are all angling to get more of it, and there's less of it to be had. So that'll be a long-term thing that we need to stay on top of. The other thing I think we need to do, I was at the long-term planning committee meeting yesterday, and I think that's probably the next most important thing we do is get some research, and so that you know, the long-term planning committee is working on developing a survey to send out to all the residents and help them look at what the needs are for the future. And there'll be an element of getting input from those in the upper 40 age bracket that might want to live here. What would they want? So continuing to make this a community that meets the needs of all of our residents. The 80 and 90-year-olds probably don't need what the 70-year-olds need, which don't need what the 60-year-old needs, and so on. So I think that look to the future, being able to place our space as the best place to live can continue. And then the third thing with the potential for a financial problem with the whole country is maintaining our financial standing. Our predecessors have done a wonderful job.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jim. Jean.
Thank you. Like the others, I was going to say water. And I guess I won't follow the directions either. I also want to insert technology, because I'm a lover of computers and what they can accomplish. But in my heart, the members are the community. The community is the corporation. We all need each other. And I feel like in the last few years, we've gotten farther away from educating the membership about the fact that there's more here than just fun. We have to take, we all came for the fun, but we have to be a little bit responsible for the workings of the corporation. And that's where attending meetings, becoming involved, it's getting harder and harder to get committee members, to get people to step up. I think we're missing the boat on the newest people in town, the people who have just purchased homes here. I think we need a welcome wagon to, and a way to hold, I don't want to call them classes, but call it Sun City 101 or Behind the Fun. And let them know that they're needed for both. It's good to have fun, but we also need to draw on our past. Perhaps what you were in your past will definitely help the rest of us in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Jerry.
I believe the most challenging thing that we have here in Sun City is to keep it affordable and diverse. We have new people moving in. We need to explore new ways to improve Sun City. We've been here for a number of years, and we need to keep it a friendly committee so that we can all work together. But the number one, I think, challenge is keeping it affordable, diverse, so that we can meet all of the needs, wants, and requirements of all the people that are living here, and those are to come in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve.
Thank you. Well, when Del Webb created Sun City, he said it was a caring and sharing community. And somehow through the fast times and everything, we've gotten away from that. We've gotten complacent. We just let us sit home and not be bothered and watch. The most challenging is here already. Next month, we will have to go back in front of the Maricopa County to stop underage from coming into our community. So we went 2 months ago, now we have to go back again. And we're gonna have to keep going back, because if we lose our overlay, then we will be a school taxing community. And we can't all just sit home and think, somebody else will take care of it. Right now, you should be writing emails to the people in Maricopa County, telling them to stop it. You know, we have to get together as a community, we have to fight as a community, or we're gonna disappear as a community. We all have to be a part of this and work together. Thank you. Thank you,
Steve. Okay, I would like to open up the floor now. If there's anyone in the audience that has a question they'd like to ask, please come forward. You don't have to give your name or your member number. Come on. Thank you.
Hey. Do you need my number?
No, I do not.
Good, because you're not going to get it. So most of you folks mentioned water as being, you know, a critical challenge in the future. And, you know, it's said that no man is an island. Well, I would also say that no rec center is an island either. And I would ask that you comment on what you would envision that you would do as a board member, or what the board would do to ensure that the rec centers are at the forefront of this water issue, both at the commercial and the residential levels.
Thank you very much. Jean Totten.
Oh, thank you. Good question. Years ago, I typed up a report for my husband, who was an environmental health and safety manager, and it had to do with gray water. I heard it mentioned again just this past week, I think at the Long Range Planning Committee. And I spoke to him about it when I got home. And he said, yes, it's a great idea, but it's extremely expensive, because you'll have to repipe and dig things up to redo it all. I really don't know how to face a water issue. I think we all need to do our own part in our own homes. But as far as in a recreation center, it's a challenge for certain. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim.
I'm going to make sure I heard the question right. So it was about water, but also the focus on rec centers.
And what changes, or what you would put forward to resolve some of the...
You all feel that water, quote unquote, is very important, and it's going to be a situation that needs remedy over the future years. How would you, what would you do, what would you suggest that the board does in order to make sure that you are in the front, you're always involved in it? Where would you go to be involved? How would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm with you. We are already doing some things like modifying the golf course grass that doesn't need as much water, a different grass level, or different grasses take less water. They're working on getting some after-use water in agreement with El Mirage. That's just in the pipeline. But those are the kind of things we need to do, is stay on top of what's happening statewide, citywide, and what things are going to have to do. I could foresee in the future where we're not allowed to water anything in our front yard, backyard, just the plants that survive in a desert environment. But it's really hard to tell. We don't have the ability as the RCSC board to speak for the community. We can only speak for the centers. So the centers keeping water in the pools and the showers and all that, but we're all going to have to deal with it. One of the things I'd recommend, having spent 20 years in the Navy, is you learn to take a Navy shower. If you don't know what that is, you turn the water on, get wet, you turn it off. Soap up, turn it on, rinse off. Water was a premium back when I first was in the Navy, and I was on an older ship, so it always had the smell of JP5 in it, which is aircraft fuel. But I think it's a difficult issue, and it's one way above our pay grade, but we'll have to figure out how to find opportunities like they have done with the grass, and how they're working for after-use water with El Mirage. And other issues will come up in the future, I'm sure. Thank you.
Darla.
Well, I'm not sure that the water is going to actually be a board issue. I think it's going to be our management team that's going to come up with the ideas and bring it to us. Because they were out there and doing the research on that. But like Jim already said, we're working on the turf reduction for the golf courses. And I think that once we do the turf reduction on the golf courses, that is going to actually help us maintain or keep the right amount of water we need for the rec centers, that we'll need to be able to keep those running smoothly, and we'll keep the pools running, and we'll keep, we'll probably have to cut down. I know some of the rec centers have grass there too. We'll probably have to do some turf reduction there. Unfortunately, we may end up living in the land of rocks, but that's where I think our future is headed. We're going to have a lot of rock around us. But we have some pretty rocks, though. We have different colors, and we have little mountains, you know, and stuff, and put in some little, little flowers here and there. Meadow flowers, not real ones, meadow flowers. So that looks real pretty. So I'm thinking maybe that's what we're doing.
Thank you, Darla. John?
Water. You know, it's basically the same answers. I mean, the future is our future. I think we do need to look. I think we got away for too long here. I listened to my grandparents. My grandparents first bought here when this first opened up. My grandfather loved it here, and he fell in love with the sundial right outside here, and he bought a place because of the sundial. And he was talking about water back then, how they were worried about water and things. In the future, it worked out. The future is coming, and it's going to work out no matter what, but I think we need to continue to bring down water features, not have so many water features. We've also, by having those things, we brought bugs, mosquitoes, and things here that we're not used to seeing in this part of the country. I think we got to continue working with that. I think the golf courses are doing a wonderful job of bringing that down. I think the management team is working on that. And then for us and where we live, it's going to be a lifetime thing. It's never going to change. It will always be a challenge.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I guess as far as the rec centers are concerned, I would look for the management to study our water usage and tell us where we can save and how much that would cost, because it's always a cost benefit. Beyond that, though, I would suggest that the RCSC could sponsor the Arizona Department of Water Resources to come in and address the members so that the members get a full and accurate picture of what we face. I'm not a water expert. Maybe some of you are, but there are experts. They can come out and they can tell us. And that may resonate with some of our community members to modify their water usage. It's not a rec center issue. It's just something that we can facilitate. Beyond that, I think we just need to work with all the groups, SHOA and all of the other groups, to make sure that we're at the forefront, that we know what needs to be done, and we're doing it. Thanks.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question? Oh, I'm sorry. See, I'm trying to be so clever in flipping things around, I forgot. Steve. Sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, boy.
Well, everybody's going to have to deal with the issue. I think one question is Maricopa County, they did beautiful 103rd and Peoria, and they planted all those beautiful trees that we have to water all the time. Now here we are trying to cut back, and we're planting more trees and watering more on 2 streets right through our community. The other thing is our rec centers, they're on city water, so we have to do some turf reduction around our centers. We have a lot of trees and everything, flowers that we water. We probably need to start reduction there. The Lakeview, they could take water out of the lake and water their trees, with a pumping station. You could do it that way, and then runoff would go back in. Reclaimed water is very expensive. It's getting even higher because a lot of our reclaimed water in the area goes over to the nuclear power plant. So it's kind of hard to get it from there because that's going to keep going there. But we need to do the turf reduction on our golf courses because that water comes out of wells. The golf courses is well water, not city water. And they're only going to let us take so much out. So we have to continue the turf reduction. Neighborhoods, try to convey to people to go back to desert landscaping around their homes and not have all the watering. Their bills are going to go so high that everybody's bills are going to climb. It's not going to be something that people are going to be able to afford. So just educating the community will probably be a great benefit, and we have the kiosks around town where we could put messages up.
Thank you, Steve. Jerry.
I want to thank you for that question. I think I'm an expert on this field. I've been working with this issue for the last 5 to 7 years. I am very familiar with ADWR, CAWCD, the CAP system, the Colorado River Group, Ben McMahon, who's the agronomist at the U of A. I receive 6 newsletters a month, and I worked with the condo associations, the 384 condo associations in Sun City for the last 5 to 7 years, doing xeriscape and conversions. RCSC itself has been working with ADWR for the last 5 to 7 years themselves. That's one reason the lake is being redone. It's been leaking ever since that liner was put in there. Also, I have a lot of different plans and solutions that I've worked with the condo associations in Sun City in regards to conversion and so forth. The golf courses have been working on this themselves for a number of years by eliminating grass. North is changing next year to a new grass system, something very new. Anyway, if somebody wants to speak to me about that afterwards, I can talk to you about it for hours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, another question. Let me guess. Heat mitigation?
No, one suggestion. If you get on the board, reinstitute Government Affairs Committee to work at the legislature and with the Corporation Commission.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Water is a big issue, and I'm glad we're talking about it, but I think we also need to talk about crime in Sun City. One house per day is getting broken into in Sun City. One of them was ours, and it sickened me the other day reading in the Independent, our general manager and our posse couldn't even work together to do a simple solution that was going to help crime on one of the golf courses. My question to all of you is there anything that this board might be able to do that would help homes from getting broken into in our community? Because it affects
okay,
a
but
lot.
this is for we're really focusing on our rec centers and golf courses. So if you'd like to reword your question to address that.
How could you help the posse do more? Well, they're breaking in during the day. It isn't at night. It's usually during the day. And, maybe we need more, pay for a security to be out looking for them.
Okay.
Anything. But
okay.
We need to be talking about it because it's a big issue.
Okay, so I'm going to just change up the question a little bit to focus on crime and RCSC. And I'm going to start with Jerry Walczak. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I was writing something there. Would you rephrase that question, please?
Well, he had a question about increasing crime in Sun City per se, and we're talking about RCSC. So let's take the question and say, are there any things we could do as a board member that could reduce crime in RCSC facilities? Is that okay?
In our facilities?
Golf course?
Currently, I do not believe that we have any type of security, that we work with any of the sheriff's department or posse or anything of that nature to, and I know the posse is trying to get on the golf courses in the evening, but the biggest problem, I think, with the crime is along Grand Avenue with most of the condo associations there. Most of those individuals, a lot of those individuals, there are snowbirds, and those are patio, what are called patio homes. They have a large patio that's open in the back, and it has an 8-foot wall. These homeless people have been jumping over the wall, breaking in, and living in those condos while the snowbirds are up north. I think if SHOA and the Condo Association and RCSC get together, form a committee, sit down together, and maybe have various meetings throughout the month, they can work on this and probably come up with a plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Darla.
I know there has been, I'm not on.
Try again.
Can I get turned on?
You're on.
Wait a minute. Oh, there I go. I thought I had to get something on there. Oh, wait. Anyway, I know there's been an issue with the posse wanting to patrol the golf courses. However, there's a lot of information that you guys are not aware of because they cannot just do that without getting more training and without getting another certificate, and that has to go through our insurance. But that's a whole other story. But I think maybe if we work together with SHOA, because I guess years ago, SHOA and RCSC used to work a lot closer together, and then over the years, they've kind of separated. But because we only deal with the facilities and the golf courses, we don't really deal with the homes and the condos and say everything that goes out in the community, and SHOA does. And I think if we started to work together, we probably could come up with a solution that we could help each other and maybe help with some of the crime, because the crime is increasing, and it's going to keep increasing because we are a very open community. We're not gated, so it's easy for people to just come in and out of here without anybody knowing, and we are growing. We are huge. We're not the community that was the same community that was here 25 years ago. We have grown, doubled in size. And I think maybe, like I said, I think the only really solution is to try to work with SHOA more, because on our facilities alone, I don't think we have a lot of crime. The crime is more on the golf courses, and we're taking care of that because we've already had a discussion with that. We're trying to more find out where the most of the stuff is happening, and we'll go with that first.
Thank you. John Fast.
I agree. That's a tough problem, and it transcends RCSC, but it impacts RCSC too, because if you talk to the softball people, they've had thousands of dollars of equipment stolen, and they've got, I mean, I talked to one of the softball players, and they say, in the morning games, the first thing you do is shoo off the homeless people that are sleeping there. So, yeah, it does impact our facilities. It does impact the golf courses where there's open space and there's back entrances to homes. So we have a stake in it, but the wider view of what our role is to participate with all the other constituents, including our members, to do our part and make sure that we provide ideas and for others to do their part. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Steve Collins.
Thank you. Crime is definitely an issue in Sun City. Probably one of the biggest things is everyone stop giving money to panhandlers. You gotta stop giving money. If they don't get any money, they will go somewhere else. The other thing is we need, the rec center and the posse need to get back together, work together, and come up with an agreement between the two of them. I mean, we're all big boys. We can come together and work something out. And I think we really need to do that, because when they're around, no, they don't have guns, but their presence just driving through, people see them, and they don't know at first if they're going to see them and call on the radio to the sheriffs or not. So their presence is greatly appreciated and needed in the community. And I think we need to sit down with them and get back on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Jim?
I agree with Steve. We need to get together with the posse, but also with Showa and the sheriff's captain who's responsible for this area, so that we have everybody that's got a finger in the pie. It's the RCSC can't focus on the homeowner, but we focus on the overall problem that affects the rec centers and affects our residents. So we need to get all four of them together and start a committee on how do we keep the place more secure. One of the things we need to do is improve the internet and access to cameras and stuff, so that we can identify who's doing it and figure out who needs to be arrested and where they are. Now, how you do that, I'm not sure who's responsible. Not RCSC, but we're a part of it. So we need to all work together to address that issue. And I have to tell you, the first person I talked to about me running on the board, that's the issue they raised.
Interesting.
So I'm very conscious of it. Thank you.
Thank you. John Salzberg.
Well, I go back and forth. Okay, I share equally. Thank you. Security, safety is always a big issue for RCS. I think I agree with John and pretty much everybody on the board here. We do need to start working together again with the posse in getting things worked out. So there is a positive outcome. We also, too, as neighbors, have to help one another, and that's including helping the RCS, too. If you see something that's unusual, call. Get involved a little bit. Don't physically get involved. Don't put yourself in harm's way, but call. Make a phone call. Just do things like that. Working with the Sheriff's Department, we have to work with them all. Captain Stutzman is a great gentleman, and he'd be more than happy to come and work and whatever it would take. The thing is, our Sheriff's Department, too, is short on men. They have a hard time hiring men and women that want to be police officers today because of the way they've been treated in the past. So we don't have the officers on duty like we should, where we would have more of that security, too, with the officers just driving around. So I think it's something that we all need to work together. RCS needs to figure out. What more can you really say about it? I mean, it's a neighbor thing, too. We have to be neighbors. Keep an eye out for one another. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jean.
Excuse me. I want to throw a lot of money at technology. For too many years, it got ignored, and we're way behind the 8 ball. I also think it goes back to welcome wagon. Talk to the buyers here as they enter the community. Tell them how important it is to have neighborhood watches, to report anything you see. Keep our good ties with Showa and the posse, but most important, technology, because that's where your cameras can come into play, things of that nature. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to take an opportunity now to switch to our lightning round, and then we'll come back to the members, okay? These are different questions. Each person gets a different question, and they picked randomly at the beginning of the evening or afternoon, and so there's a specific question, so you won't hear the same answers are repeated. And then we'll go back to opening up the floor, okay? Who has number 1?
That'd be me.
Oh, okay, Darla.
Thanks.
How many rec centers do we have, and what are their names?
We have 8. We just added one. We had 7, then we had Grand Avenue. But I have to work from the top and go down to the bottom. So you have Marinette, have Bell, Lakeview, Sundial, Oakmont, Fairway, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Mountain View, and Grand.
That's correct. Is that 8?
Yes.
Thank you. You got it right. Okay. Question number 2. Who's lucky number 2? Okay, Jerry. Please name the standing committees currently on the RCSC roster. Standing committees.
All of them?
As many as you can.
COC,
Okay.
the Golf Committee, the computer club, no, the
Technology.
technology, lawn bowling, and let's see, some of the other ones. There's 3 or 4 others. There's the Finance and Budget Committee, the Property Committee. I think that's the only ones that I can think of. There may be 1 or 2 more.
Okay, very good. Long-range planning, insurance, and Sun City in Focus. Okay, number 3. Okay, Jim. What guides the business of a standing committee? What guides the business of a standing committee?
There's a board policy on it which provides the guidance.
That's correct. There is in our current bylaws, there is a purpose stated for each standing committee, and they're supposed to operate within that definition. When we go to, when the bylaws pass and we change things, it's going to be in BP 27. It's going to go into bylaw or policies. Number 4. Okay. Name the 3 primary duties of the Board of Directors.
We write policy. We make sure that policy is being implemented. And we pass budget. And then we do all the bylaws, write bylaws, policies.
Okay. The bylaws state that we have a responsibility to employ a manager. We have a responsibility to establish, change, or delete board policies and any other rules or regulations of the corporation deemed necessary. And you have a financial or a fiduciary responsibility and duty that requires you to act in the best interest and for the benefit of the corporation. All right, number 5. Oh, very good. What's the difference between what the Board of Directors does and what management does?
Well, the Board of Directors employs the general manager, who in turn is responsible for his staff. It's not our job, not the job of the Board of Directors to micromanage, but to oversee, probably give counsel to the manager, the management. Was it the whole management, did you say?
What does management do?
Yeah.
Compared to the board. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, the board sets policies and protects the assets of the corporation. Management carries out the policies set by the board and runs the corporation on a day-to-day basis. So close, you were really close on that one. What 3 areas provide revenue for RCSC? That's number 6.
Well, I want it noted for the record
I'm sorry.
that I have 6 or 9.
Oopsies.
I'm going to take 6.
Somebody else have, you're going to do 6? Okay, okay.
Could you repeat the question?
Okay, number 6. What 3 areas provide revenue for RCSC's operational budget? Operational budget.
Operational budget. So you have an annual fee or assessment. You also have revenue from golf. You have revenue from bowling. You have revenue from events and entertainment. I think there's also a transfer fee that goes into the operational budget. And I think those are it. I may be missing 1 or 2, yeah.
Okay, you actually got the 3, that it's the annual assessments, golf, and bowling. We don't bring in a lot of revenue for events and entertainment. That's kind of on the negative side of the budget. Okay, number 7.
That would be me.
That would be you. You're right. You're the last one I haven't talked to. If a change needs to happen in the Articles of Incorporation and the bylaws, how does that come about?
Well, any committee, it has to be brought forth as an open, what's the term I want to use?
Motion?
Motion, thank you. Be brought as a motion to the board and then voted on from there, basically. It has to start, it could start with a small committee. A person from the audience could bring it as a motion to the board, and then the board would decide then to talk, or if we want to table until a further time. But basically, like with anything, it's got to start with the people going up to the board.
Okay.
That didn't sound good.
Items of the Articles of Incorporation are generally only changed by the members.
Oh.
Bylaws can be changed by both the Board of Directors or the members. All right, thank you. That was good. Okay, I'd like to open up the floor again.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for running, giving us a choice. I think that's very good. I'm going to go back a little bit to the thing before about, they were talking about security and somebody with someone's home versus the rest. Really, I think the broader question is, there's many organizations within Sun City. The Sun City Homeowners Association, the recreation centers, the posse, you've got the Maricopa County Sheriff, you've got a whole lot of parties that play here, and we don't have a central government. We really don't have a mayor. We don't have anything that oversees all of this for us. So it relies upon us to come up with some form of cooperation. I'd like to get your opinion on what you think the current cooperation has been between RCSC and those organizations, and what you would want to do to improve that.
Thank you. All right, let's start with, how about John Solberg?
I think cooperation is the #1 issue. From when the last board meeting I went with, I saw a lot of negativeness. We need to get past the negativeness and get back into the cooperation. One time, this place did cooperate with one another and worked well with each other. I think we need to get back to that. We're not doing that real well at this time. We need to be open more communications. We've said it, I think, numerous times. We have to be open, work with one another, listen to one another, listen to you, and just be honest with what we can do. There are a lot of things here. I have a lot of things off my head I think we could do, but there'll come time for a place for that too. But I think us not having a government is a good thing. I think it's a positive thing that we run on the situation the way we do, and that we do need to go back to the volunteers, the way the city was founded, on working with one another, cooperating with the posse, cooperating with the fire department, cooperating with the sheriff's department, even with the governor. Like Jim was saying earlier, we need to get back and to get out there. Thank you.
Thank you. John Fast.
Well, I think we have liaisons with some of those groups whose responsibility is to listen and to determine if RCSC has an issue. But beyond that, if we really want to be proactive, I think what we want to do is to have a regular get-together by all the parties, one representative, not 300, and talk about common issues and overlaps in areas, because it all starts with a dialogue and an understanding of what each other's issues are. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Ruff.
Thank you. I would say ditto what John just said. I think it'd be a great idea to have a standing committee where they all, 4 groups or 5, get together regularly, at least quarterly, and maybe more often as necessary, especially with all the crime that's going on, be a good starting point. But if we can get them all working together, and then maybe they could come and we could have the same kind of meeting with the members where you can speak to all 4 groups at the same time and help us get on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry Walczak.
Currently, there is a leadership committee in Sun City that involves the Posse, Showa, COA, Sun City Can, and the Prides, and sometimes Maricopa County will send a representative there. They meet once a month at the Posse. And again, somebody mentioned the liaisons. We have liaisons from most of these associations also meeting every month. I think they need to expand on these. The meeting, I've been at those meetings at the Posse many times. I think they need to expand it a little more, spend a little more time on the issues and ideas that can improve Sun City. Also, the liaisons, I think, should be set up a little bit different than what they are right now. But we do have those 2 forms, and I would suggest a grand overall committee, maybe meeting here at RCSC, just like all the other clubs and groups meet here at RCSC. Thank you.
Thank you. Darla Akins.
Oh, I know. Should I get water?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like I said, I think Showa and RCSC worked together a lot closer years ago, and then they separated. I don't know the history behind that, so I'm not sure why that is. But I think, like I said earlier, I think we need to start working together more and perhaps have our leadership with their leadership meet more often. And then, because with the liaisons, we go to the liaisons, as I'm part of the Roads and Safety Committee, and there is a lot of information shared there that I think really could help RCSC. I try to bring back some information, but you know, it's hard to bring back everything that's said because there's so much there, because I don't want to take up all of our meeting with that, to duplicate all that. But I think trying to work together, we're going to have somehow work together, and I think start with bringing the 2 leaderships together, RCSC's leadership and Showa's leadership, and have them meet, and then we can bring our boards together. Now, Showa has more than just one board, but I think if we can maybe we could have their boards and RCSC board meet too, then we could share more information. But we got to somehow figure out a way to, have another meeting. But that's the only way you can really share information. You just have to get together and talk and communicate.
Thank you. Jean Totten.
Thank you. Rather than sit here and repeat what everyone has said, because they're all the best ideas, I might also add, again, education. When I moved here, I was told that I didn't have to join Showa, that it wasn't necessary. Well, I don't think that's the right attitude to take. I think we should all take advantage of all of the groups that we have to help us in our daily lives. So that's, we need to learn about neighborhood watches. We need to learn about what SHOA does, what the posse does. There's a lot, the community is new and doesn't always get the information they need to get. And then there's the elderly who have lived here a long time, and unfortunately, they're the ones that a lot of them are being targeted. But again, I go back to the education piece. It doesn't hurt to educate and meet, although I know everyone's going to say, another meeting, really?
Okay, thank you. Is there another question? Oh, Steve. Almost forgot you, Steve. Sorry.
Unfortunately. Well, we were the city of volunteers. And the last couple of years, I heard we got to do away with that saying. New people don't want to be part of the city of volunteers. Well, we are the city of volunteers. Everything we do, the board are volunteers, SHOA is volunteers, the posse's volunteers, the clubs are volunteers. And it seems like we have this rub between the volunteers and the professional staff, and we have to try to get past that. We have to work together, because we're not going anywhere if we don't have the volunteers. And one big thing I think is, in your neighborhoods, get to know your neighbors. Get to know what kind of car they drive. If they're leaving, you tell each other, I'm leaving for the weekend. If you see a strange car in their driveway, call the sheriff. They will come. The first Tuesday of every month, the sheriff is at the posse meeting. You can come there, you can ask them questions. They're there. They need your help, though. You see something, say something. And the best defense is around your neighborhood, your street. Go right around to the street behind you and get to know your neighbors, like I said, what they drive. And if you're going away, tell each other. A lot of homes are robbed on a Sunday afternoon, and the truck backs right up and breaks in, and people say, yeah, we saw you were getting work done. They were getting robbed. All they had to do was tell the people they weren't going to be home. So a lot of it we have to do ourselves, and be the volunteers that we are, and help each other and look out for each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, I'm going to ask you to wait till everyone has a chance to.
Just on this briefly. I want to follow up because Jerry mentioned the association, the Leadership Association. RCSC was definitely missing from that list. RCSC in Sun City is the big kid on the block. RCSC is the one that has money. RCSC is the one that has facilities like this, can house a lot of people. RCSC publishes Sun Views. It has a lot of things available that right now are not available and aren't cooperative with the other organizations.
Mike,
and so I just want to say,
if you have a question.
All right, my question is do you feel that can be improved, that we can find a way that RCSC can help support better communication through all these organizations in cooperation?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to ask the gentleman who's been very anxious to get up there.
I'm from Minnesota, so I'm always letting other people go first.
Minnesota nice.
My mama
there you
taught
go.
me good. I'm proudly Tom Swenson. Well, I'm not proudly Tom Swenson. I'm Tom Swenson proudly with Sun City Players. And I just want a clear answer. Del Webb, when he set this place up, one of the things he said is we need a professional theater. And 40 years later, we finally got a committee that got started on planning. So it was 20 years ago that we started a project to build a quality theater instead of a converted roller skate rink. So I would like to find out your opinions on that theater, because I'm looking through what everybody said. We want high-quality recreational opportunities. We want to move slow but steady. 20 years is slow but steady. Young people, young people coming in here would see that theater as a joke. On and on. Ensure all clubs have access to support commensurate with the number of users. The number of users is not just the members involved in these clubs. There's 11 of us forming a consortium of entertainment groups in Sun City. We entertain thousands, literally thousands of people.
So we need to get to the question.
So the question is,
thank you.
Kind of a twofolder. One is, do you support a new theater for Sun City as it is already in progress? And do you feel it's right for us to be like the federal government? Every time we get a new regime, they undo the policies of the last one. Because there's a lot of push to undo that decision that took 20 years to come to fruition.
Okay, so we have a twofold question. Do you support the building of a theater in Sun City, and do you feel that new board members can come in and change what's already been approved? Darla.
We are working on a new theater. I absolutely, definitely do think you need a new theater. And what I keep trying to get people to understand is that the theater that we are going to hopefully get for you is going to be an expansion of what you have so that you can seat more people. I go to all their plays. I'm a member of their club. And the seats are not very comfortable. And they sell out a lot of times. So we need to get more comfortable seats and more seats so they can sell more tickets. But I'm hoping that we can continue to, like I said earlier, move Sun City forward, and that would include to keep our motions going for the theater that we already have started. We have to keep that going. We've got to keep them moving. And I'm hoping that if we do get a new board here, they will not stop the motion and we have to start all over again. I'm hoping that does not happen.
But how do you feel about it?
I feel like, that's what I said, I feel like they definitely do need one, and I want to definitely do that, and I'm going to definitely vote for that if I'm on that board. You will get, I'll say it loudly, you will get your theater because it's been too long.
Okay. Steve Collins.
Yes. The theater has been wanted and has been needed, and I agree with the theater. The only problem I have is, and I want you people in the theater to tell me, I don't want you to come up with your design, put it all down on paper, this is what you want, this is what you want in it, and then somebody just cut this out and cut that out, which is exactly what happened in other issues. You know, so whatever's in there and you guys want, I don't want you to end up with an empty box. And that's my whole thing. And I'm hoping that with inflation and everything else that's gone on, that this price tag hasn't gone up through the roof. Well, none of us will know that until it comes back from design. But I know you guys spent time with designers and everything else, and what you put down in that design is what I want you, when you agree to it, I want it to be there. I don't want you to find out this has been cut, this has been cut. That's my whole issue with this. Thank you.
Okay, there was two questions. So you support the theater, and the other question was, do you think that new board members coming on can change things that have already been approved?
I don't think that anybody, I've heard that too, that's a big fear. You don't want, be careful who you elect because we're going to change this. We're going to take it away. That's not true. Nobody here has an agenda to take things away. As long as we can get you what you asked for and get you what's in there, I'm all for that. Unless, like I said, none of us know what the price tag is going to be with the whole project. I mean, we have to wait and see on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean Totten.
Thank you. I totally support a theater. I think you folks were shuffled around and led down a rosy path for way too long a period of time. And I'm not sure whether it was partly because the Grand Recreation Center came into fruition and was kind of pushed through, whether your project got pushed aside. Regardless, I definitely would support a new theater. And if I'm elected to the board, I need to be cognizant of my fiduciary responsibility to the corporation and to the members. So that's the biggest thing I would need to look at is it going to fit in? We've talked about water. We've talked about technology. Water is a true unknown. I think technology is an unknown. Those are two pretty important items that are on the wish list. I'd hate to see where you can't have a good play without good technology as well.
Jean?
Yes.
There's very little time left.
Oh.
I'm going to ask you the last question again. Do you think that you as a new board member could come in and change things that have already started?
Well, you know, it seems to me that listening and reading all the past minutes, et cetera, all boards seem to do that here. I don't know, to be truthful. I won't know until I'm on the board.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Jim Ruff.
I would definitely support the new theater. The only issue is going to be the cost, which we'll look at and work with you to get you the best we can with what we have.
Thank you.
And I've been part of many boards, and I've seen them change things, and there's no way to say it won't be changed, because you don't know what's going to come up to cause the change. But I don't think we should be changing the priorities of the building lists unless it's an emergency.
Okay. Thank you. Jerry Walczak.
My answers are yes and no. Yes for the theater, and no, the board members, the new board cannot come in and just change things. We have in Sun City what's known as the PIF fund, and that's usually made out 10 years in advance. I happen to have the current one right here, and in 22, 23, and 24, we're supposed to be working on the Mountain View, and it's supposed to be phase 3 finished in 2030. Also, I was on the original committee as co-chair, and Bruce, who's in the audience, was the chair of the holding town hall meetings at Mountain View to determine what, who, why, and when. And that was in 2016, I believe. And here it is, 2022, and it's still being kicked around for some reason. But we originally addressed this, I think it was 2016 or 17, one of those. But the PIF fund is usually set up, and it's very difficult to change anything in that fund. But yes, I'm for the theater, and no, you cannot just come in and change things.
All right, thank you. And John Fast.
Let me address the first question first. A theater. I am really excited about a performing arts center, which I think is your concept of a theater, but has a multitude of uses and will expand the entertainment options of all Sun citizens. So 100%. On your second question, you can't really, you pose a hypothetical. What would you do if, and can you do, and this, that, and the other thing. I can't put you in a position to say, well, what would you do if you don't know all the facts? So if what you're going to get is like what Steve said, you're going to get a tough shed with a barn attached to it, it's going to change. And I'm not going to sit here and say, I won't stand in the way of that. So you got to play the ball where it lies. I think we have a good process in place, and I'm really excited about a performing arts center. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another question from the audience? Come on up. Oh, I'm sorry, John. Oh, God, I'm terrible at this.
That's okay. I agree. I think the theater is awesome. I think that 100% back that. Boards changing things. I've been on boards. They've changed things. Do I always agree with it? No. I do agree there are situations that come up out of the blue. We don't know, emergencies, things that happen. Of course, it's like with our life. We budget for our home. It changes, things like that. But I think that we should not just change just to change because we didn't like the last group that put in what they thought should put in. Thank you.
Okay, and my apologies again to everybody I've skipped over. Come on up.
You didn't skip me, I felt left out.
In your opening statements and things, I didn't hear and I don't see it written down. I'd like to know, I've been here a long time and I'm familiar with some of the people, but I don't know how long Jean has lived here, how long James has lived here, and how long John has lived here. Could you tell me how long you've lived in Sun City? Jean?
Certainly. It's on my paper back there. I've been here since 2019.
Okay.
I've been here for 4 months.
And John?
I've owned here for 17 years.
I know you, John. I just met that
Oh,
John.
this John.
She wants to pick on me now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. We've owned property since 2012.
Did you live here since
We were
12?
snowbirds for 2012 on, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I wanted to know.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Okay, I have a question. Every year there's carryover money, and I would like you as a new board people, I would like to address only the new people, because I already know, I think, how the other people feel. So John Fast, John Sahlberg, Jean, and James. The carryover money can be used for a lot of different things, but one thing with the theater and any other building projects we have is that, yes, the architect can come up with a plan, everybody can sign off of it, we're going to start on it, but I can only assume, that the county is consulted first to see if those plans will pass code, like parking issues, water issues, etc. So, would you propose, if there's any carryover money left, if it hasn't already been done, somebody work with the county, the architect especially, and the management work with the county to make sure it's going to pass and be able to open when it's done? Okay?
So, wait, I'm not following you totally here.
Okay.
So you want to know, what is the carryover? You're kind of asking like, do you want to have all the contracts, or you want all the permits before the construction? What does that have to do with carry forward?
That's just a place where there's revenue. If it doesn't fit there, that's fine. But my biggest question is when the architect's done with it and we start building and we get done, are we going to have adequate parking? Are we going to have adequate water drainage? We already have a facility that's not open yet. It hasn't been able to have occupancy. So is that going to happen again? That's my question.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll try to answer that.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question. As a part of the building process, you have to go through the Maricopa County Building Department. And when you submit your plans for approval, you have to have your parking in place or request a variance. If you remember, it's a Fairway, I think it's Fairway, had a parking issue. And originally Fairway was supposed to have an enclosed pool. But because the parking is counted on roof space, the only way to get to the building of Fairway was to remove the roof from the pool. So yes, those trade-offs and those things have to go through the process. And if your question is broader than that, as to is the carryover money available to address that, the answer is no, because it has to come out of the PIF. Is that okay? Okay.
Okay. John?
I thought that was a great answer. Of course, you have to go through the county. You have to get zoning and make sure everything is proper. I agree with what he said about the money, the pit. I think that's exactly right. I have not much more to say about that, but because I agree with it 100%.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
I did do some construction projects for my brother, was a general contractor, and it goes to the county. They have to approve everything before you even are allowed to start. So all the issues that you were addressing have to be addressed before you start building. Thank you.
Jean?
I agree with what the gentlemen have said before me. There's not much more I can add.
Okay.
Can I just say one quick thing? Ironically, this morning, the players met with the general contractor or architect and the specific theater architect. All of those issues were talked about today. And you're right, what you're all saying is exactly right. Do not worry. Boy, every detail down to, we asked for more women's bathrooms than men's.
There you go.
For example.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, we have a little bit time. Oh.
Good afternoon. I have a question. You know, we all talk about finances and the PIF fund and the carryover. So I have a question. You know, Mountain View is hopefully moving forward. That's the goal. Now, in the past, we've had a building built for pretty much a specific club. Now they're coming back and asking for air conditioning in that facility. I'm just thinking, what is your stance if we're being financial responsibility? We built the building according to their specifications, what they wanted. Why should we go back and add something else to it? So, anybody that wants to answer that question?
Well, okay, so the question, do you want to go ahead? Sure.
I'm happy to take that question. From what I understand, and I don't pretend to know every conversation that went on, it was that the original building was air conditioned as designed, and as you go through the building process, you get better information on costs, and changes occur, and the air conditioning was eliminated. This is the grand building. I think you're talking about the Vintage Vehicle Club. Are you not? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's my understanding. What has happened since then is the club has taken temperature readings and all of that and submitted the data, and then a request for air conditioning. That request goes through the normal budget process. It has to be looked at by management, ranked, and decided whether or not it's going to be put in, and if so, when. So fiscally, I think you asked me what's my conservative view on that. My view is that the members pay fees to get amenities, and that we should use those fees prudently, conservatively, to deliver the widest range of amenities. I guess, again, you're asking me a hypothetical without knowing all of the different circumstances that surround it.
I think maybe the better question would be, if a club has a budget request,
yes,
what is the process?
Very good. We have an existing process, by the way, and I think, Dale, you know it. And the process is that all clubs annually are asked for capital funds, what they want. So every club has asked for something. The process that management has gone through, as I understand from sitting through today's Finance and Budget Committee, is that they go through and rank those with a system from 5 to 1, and then determine what they can afford to build when. So I think that's the process.
Correct. Does anybody else have anything they want to add? It's very specific about the process.
Yes, data. Use your data, your utilization data of members. How many members are going to get the advantage of the air conditioning versus another group that might be asking for something? That's what we've been talking about, is using our data.
Okay. Anybody else have something to add?
I hear you. From what I understand, that building is still open under PIF. So that's a PIF project, and that's part of that building. It's not like a normal request from a club that would go, that you want to budget for next year. It's still open under PIF. So it's kind of a little bit different.
I don't think that it is, but is there anything else anybody would like to add? Okay, that was kind of a tricky one because it's...
I just want to make a comment. At one of the last board meetings, exchanges, your management said that that contract is still open under PIF and there's $300,000 still there that could be spent on that center for that work, air conditioning that was originally asked for, that was cut by management.
Okay. Before that's not really a question for the board. I will answer that. We have another club that's going in there, and that money is going to be spent, goes towards that club. Do you have any other questions for the board overall?
For candidates.
For the candidates. Thank you.
Thank you for electing us. Thank you.
You're in.
I'll come up one more. Someone brought up the carry forward amount. If you look historically, apparently, we've had $1 million left over almost every year for the last 10 years or more. And that's budget. And either we should have gotten the budget in line and made it correct, or we should use that money for other operational things. And there are some examples such as Mountain View, because it's going to be replaced. We're not going to repair the mini golf. We're not going to repair the spa, other things. I assume this is probably elsewhere. Yet apparently there's money there from an operational point of view to cover that. And I'd like to know what your opinion is relative to carry forward and whether we should strive to come down to a smaller amount that carries forward and we should use it more effectively and not have things sit in disrepair and just start banking up over $10 million that
So your question is, should we use carry forward for?
Well, I'd like to know their opinion on how carry forward.
I know, I want to get the, yes.
Okay.
So you've talked about little projects in Mountain View and this and that, but what you're really asking about is how should carry forward dollars be managed? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, and when you have it, it's, some companies go out and they do it, it's use it or lose it. So at the end of the year, everybody's out, let's spend the money, spend the money. We're not in that situation. But the point is, we have some money, and there's methods and ways where that money could be used to take care of things that could be put in better repair. Tennis courts at Lakeview have been in disrepair for a long time. There's a bunch of things like that. So what's your view on using the budget money and carry forward?
Okay.
Being more effective.
Carry forward money and how it's being used. Darla.
Well, we have the carry forward money for that reason, that we can use it for projects. I mean, a lot of the PIF money is already allocated, and we have estimates on projects, how much it's going to cost. If it's for some reason there is something that comes up where the estimated cost is going to be more than we figured or more than it was originally planned to be, then we do have the carry forward money to go to so that we can use it so that we don't get in dire straits, because Sun City has never been in debt and then won't ever be in debt. because we do have, our management team, I think, has managed our money very, very well. And the reason why they've managed the money well is because they do keep money in the carry forward. Carry forward money is there if you need it. It's like at home, you have rainy day money because you have money set aside just in case you need it, because you never know when something may happen and you may need it. They ran into that problem when the sundial roof fell in over the pool. That was years ago. However, that they had to stop a lot of things, including almost not even getting toilet paper for some of the facilities, because the insurance did not want to cover that, and it took them years to get that squared away, and they still ended up spending, I don't know what they said earlier, $800 to try to get that fixed. So they don't want to get in that position again, so they're really, really careful about how they handle the money.
Okay, Jim?
I'd like to just
No.
clarify my question. Carry forward is operational. Maintenance, operation of the facilities. I'm not talking about PIF. I'm not talking about new facilities. I'm not talking about all that. Whole different game. You got capital reserve funds. You got all these other things that come into play. Carry forward is budget that's left over, and we've accumulated a lot. So that's my question. Should we use it somehow from an operational perspective to do things that we're deferring? And should we tighten our budget so that we don't carry $1 million a year over?
Okay, so now the question is, do we use our carry forward money to do projects, or do we look at other options like capital reserve?
No, nothing to do with the capital reserve.
Oh, it has
I'm talking
everything to do
about
with capital
repairs, repair and maintenance.
I called on Jim. Sorry.
Okay, I think you bring up a good point. and I
But
think
Jim,
that's-
hold on. They're not just not repairing stuff at Mountain View because they don't want to, or because even I know when they have the money. We're trying to think if they've spent a lot of money on repairs, when they're going to replace the building, then they feel like that's not a good decision to make.
Okay, I'm going to cut the time down to a minute.
Okay.
Sorry, because we're running out of time.
I think you bring up a good discussion issue without more details and sitting in the room with the Finance and Budget Committee. But I take your point, and it's one I've thought of myself, is how much of a reserve do we really need? If we have the excess funds, or we've saved budget operational money, where can we use it and go ahead and use it this year to improve the facility that needs it?
Jean?
I also think it's, again, a matter of education and transparency. I had no idea what carry forward was, where it came from, or that we had it. And to think that we have that much, I was just astounded. But on the other hand, after attending a finance committee meeting this morning, I understood a little bit more about it. I think it's a matter of, again, that the people, the members need to know why we have so much money left over. I question that. And then we need to decide, do we spend it or do we save it? When I did my own budgeting for years, back with the envelope systems, and it was money for gas and water and whatever. And if I had a little left over, it went in an envelope, usually went for Christmas.
Okay,
So,
1 minute.
Wish
Sorry.
list.
Thank you. Jerry?
The carryover happens for various reasons, and there are times where you cannot correctly budget for that. I spoke, matter of fact, this morning with Brian Dutu concerning the $1.2 million that he is to the good this year, and I says, how come you're so far ahead this year? And he said they took into consideration COVID and what happened in the last 2 years, and they budgeted for that accordingly, and consequently, it didn't happen that way, and that's good for us, so we've got that extra money. But we do have a Finance and Budget Committee, so that when this money is over, that is those are the individuals that should sit down and go over it and look at it and see what could be done with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Collins.
Thank you. I know we end up with a lot of this carry forward money, and if the clubs have gotten what they requested, I think then it could be carried forward. But I think that the clubs are making requests, and if we have extra money at that year, why not fulfill some of the more of the club's requests? I have no problem with doing that. And the rest, if we satisfy the clubs, then carry it forward for savings. But I don't believe we should, I don't believe in putting more in capital reserve. I don't want to keep putting all our money into capital reserve. We have insurance policies on all our buildings if something catastrophic happened, and we have about $5 million in capital reserve, and I think that's enough. Thank you.
Thank you. John, fast.
Yeah, good question. The carryover is really two parts. One is that you have an excess of revenue over your operating expenses, but you haven't budgeted any cash for replacing non-PIF items, like a truck, like golf carts, like this, like that. And I had a great conversation this morning with Kevin McCurdy, and they have, it's in process, so be patient, please, but they have a 2,400 line schedule of everything that our RCSC has that's non-PIF that will need replacing in the future. And I think when that schedule is completed, we'll have a better idea of what needs to be out there to cover replacement. Because remember, these things do wear out. And so right now I would say I don't know if we have too much or if we have too little, but I think they're working in the right direction.
Thank you. John, do you have anything to add?
I'm just going to add that I agree with what John was saying. I mean, what more can you say about it? I mean, that's just the facts.
That's the nice part about being at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna start wrapping things up, and since we have a little bit of time, I'd like to give each one of the candidates 2 minutes for closing statements. I'm going to start down at this end with John. Fast.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, my fellow Sun citizens, for the opportunity to talk with you. There are many thought-provoking questions that I will be thinking about for quite some time. I hope we have the opportunity to have many more discussions like these in the future. You see, in my view, what sets us apart from other retirement communities is the pioneering spirits of our citizens. We all know there will be challenges and opportunities ahead, just as there have been in the past. Throughout our amazing history, we have worked together to address the challenges we face in a thoughtful and respectful manner. Yes, we have been through some tumultuous times over the past several years, and we may not have always done the best job of working collaboratively with one another. I am confident we can get over this. We have a solid financial status on which to build. We are still far and away the best value of any retirement community in the world, in my opinion. So I close with this. I want to challenge each of you to do the following in the next several days. Look in the mirror and ask yourselves, who is responsible for the quality of your community? When I did that, my answer was, I need to be up here. Thank you.
Thank you. John Salzberg.
Thank you for coming tonight and listening to us. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for being pretty much positive and to the point, not arguing and stuff like that. I think that's what this is about, is this open communication like we're having here tonight, and that I would like to continue that open communications on all level. I think the majority of us up here are really looking forward to having that kind of open communications to stay in line so we understand every issue, everything that's going on. Not all of us know every depth issue that you guys are exactly talking about. I wasn't sure until the explanation about the garage and the air conditioning just now. That was new to me. I didn't know that. I just assumed that that all came with it. So for me, this was a learning experience too. And I think that's what this is all about, is learning together, working together, and being positive one another, and being open to one another. We're not always going to agree with each other, but I don't like the words to agree to disagree, but I think that we have to do the best to work together no matter what. And I want to thank you for your time, and please, if you feel like I've done an okay job talking to you tonight, please vote for me. I'm going to ask for your vote, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Darla.
Oh, thank you for coming this afternoon. You have really been a good audience, and very good listeners, and I thought we had some good questions answered. It's very hard sometimes to answer, like John Fass was saying earlier, hypothetical questions, because things change on a daily basis. When we were talking about the theater earlier, it's not only just going to be for the Players Club. There's going to be a lot of other things that can happen there. We can have meetings there. We can have concerts there. There's a lot of things that can happen in that building. And once we get it going, then we can see how many other people can actually use that. And talking about the Lakeview tennis courts, that's already been allocated for pickleball courts to go there, and the money's already been set aside, or I think the money's already, they're designing it now, so they can set the money aside for that. So, I mean, a lot of these things are already in place that you're questioning. I think that if I can be reelected to the board, I would like to help continue to vote for those things and keep them moving forward, because we have to keep Sun City moving forward. We can't just keep spinning our wheels in the mud. We can't just keep stalling. We have to move on. So we can't keep questioning what somebody's doing. We can't keep questioning how many bathrooms you're going to have, how many parking spaces you're going to have. I think our management team knows how to handle all of that, since they've already did Fairway. They've already did all our big major projects already. They know exactly what steps they have to go through. They know they got to go to Maricopa County to get codes. They already know this stuff. I know that. I'm here. I'm ready to support you. And I think you and the members and the board as a team working together, we can make Sun City very successful.
Thank you. Jim.
Thank you for listening to us today and coming out. One of the things I've noticed, there's about 50-plus people in the room. There are 27,000 residents, or, well, buildings, 38,000 residents, I think I heard. So one of the things we really need to do is see if we can't get more people involved. And I don't really know how to do that, but it would be something to work on. I have a lot of management experience, 40-plus years. I've worked with boards. I've worked with governments. I've worked with schools. Just have a broad background. I'd love to be able to be a board member and represent you. I promise to be thoughtful in what I do, open to talking to anyone who needs to work their way through it. But I do think we need to be able to agree to disagree and remain friends. Leave it here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jean.
Thank you. I know I'm supposed to take this time to get you to vote for me, but indulge me for a moment. I just need to say, aren't we all blessed? This past weekend, we had the opportunity to enjoy the the Sun City Concert Band right here, country music from the Sun Bowl fall schedule, and a pickleball tournament. We have pools and golf courses, walking tracks, tennis and pickleball courts, a plethora of clubs, and our own Sun City Players Community Theater will be ushering in a new play this weekend. It doesn't get much better than that. This is exactly what Del Webb envisioned back in 1960 when he opened up the doors to his first model home and saw his dream come true. And as Sun City grew, it experienced its highs and lows, just like every big project does. but the city of volunteers, members instilled with a culture of responsibility for their community, continued to flourish. In 2020, I participated in my first election. All three of the candidates that I voted for won. However, in June, one of them was fired off the board, and that made me angry. And that's how and why I got involved. And it was so invigorating to watch this community come together to gather over 600+ proxy votes to achieve the first successful annual membership meeting since 2009. Never doubt what a village can accomplish. Unfortunately, our motions went nowhere. We're still waiting for their answers. Thank you all. Oh,
Thank you.
I'm done.
Jerry?
James said some of the things I was going to say, but I'm going to say them anyway. The census for 2020, there's 39,931 people living here, and look around, there's only 50 people here. So I appreciate you guys coming, sitting for 2 hours, listening to us, and hopefully you can select the necessary candidates to be on the board and keep our community affordable, diverse, and friendly. Thank you.
Steve.
Thank you. And Jim, just to tell you, if you raise the rec fees, raise the golf rates, you'll get some reaction out of the public. They will come out. But we're moving forward, and we're waiting in anticipation to get the design on Mountain View. You know, one thing is the gymnasium there. You know, everybody's, I don't know if we're going to get participation or whatever. Well, one thing when it does come back, I want to ask for is be able to fit 4 pickleball courts inside it, because then we can do lighting from the ceiling. And if we don't get the utilization from basketball, we can have 4 courts inside. Or volleyball, you can set it up, or just with the lights, you can set it up for chairs, for whatever. There's a lot of things we can do to make the facility more usable for more things. So, you know, we're hoping that when it comes back, the pricing is in line and we can do some of these things to make it even better. Please vote. Tell your neighbors to please vote. It's you that makes the decisions here ultimately, and it's you that needs to come and tell us what to do. Without you guys telling us, we don't really have a good direction. There's 9 of us, and you don't want a direction from 9 of us. You want 32,000 of you to point the direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Well, I'd like to end this today by thanking you, the audience, for taking the time to come here today to listen and to ask questions. And the candidates, what a great job. Please join me in giving them a hand. I think they did a pretty good job. It's scary being up here sometimes. I want to just have a few announcements. The next candidate forum will be next Wednesday right here in Sundial at 6 p.m. The social for the little snicky snacks and meeting the candidates starts at 5:30. On November 7th, 2 big things happen. Absentee ballots may be requested. You can call the corporate office or stop by to pick one up. And online voting starts on November 7th as well. There is a sheet on the back table with the directions on the voting process online, so take a look at that. In-person voting starts Tuesday, December 13th, and it's from 8 to 4. It's at Lakeview in Social Hall 2. And as promised, turn your phones back on. You're going back out into the real world. Thank you again.
written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.